This is Roots, and today I'm recording this a day after my birthday, which for me is unusual because normally I count down to my birthday from the 31st of July, 20 days to go, 10, 9, 8, etc., etc., etc. I get excited. I always get excited for my birthday, and I'm grateful for it. Grateful for my mom and dad, for loving me, for nurturing me, for bringing me into this world. But this year, there was no countdown. The day simply arrived quietly, and I noticed growing up on my birthday, or rather growing up, birthdays weren't really a funfeestism thing. We didn't have parties, but there were moments. I remember one year, I think it was for my 16th birthday, when Dad put up a tent in the yard. There was the smell of braai fires. Chantal and I had our friends over, a proper birthday celebration. And then there was my 21st, a surprise party. Again, Dad arranged it. And Connie made her speciality orange cake. Oma made her fruit cake. Friends came. There was bashews. Mrs. Murray gave me an ornate champagne glass, and Dad gave me a key. A little object that has stayed in my memory for reasons beyond that birthday, because on another occasion in anger, he broke the key. Life is like that. Memories aren't always neat. Love and difficulty can occupy the same story. That same year, Mom went to America on a youth development exchange program. Before she left, and before all of our birthdays, we had lunch at a hotel with sweeping views across the bay. I remember those things. And I remember being absolutely certain that everyone should know that today was all about me. It was my birthday, and I was very happy to tell the world. There was another birthday, one that I remember very differently. The year Dad died. We arrived in Beaufort in the early hours of my birthday, a day before his funeral. And of course, I was sad that he passed, deeply sad. But somehow, even then, I couldn't stop myself from reminding all and sundry that it was my birthday. I was still excited about my day, and looking back now, I understand it quite differently, because Dad was still there symbolically. He was still with us before his funeral the next day. My birthday existed in that strange space between his death and saying goodbye. I can still see Antort greeting us in the doorway of the house in Peter Street. That doorway, that homecoming. It's funny what the mind keeps. Not necessarily the big events. Sometimes a doorway, a face, a greeting, a house, a feeling. And perhaps That's what birthdays have become for me. Less about the celebration itself and more about remembering, looking back, taking stock, seeing how far I've come. So this year I thought perhaps the quietness meant something had changed. Maybe I wasn't as excited anymore. Maybe the countdown had simply run its course. And then the messages started arriving, and the calls, and the voice notes, and the praise, and the laughter, and the love. So much love that I became completely overwhelmed. I couldn't stop smiling. Patricia, Aquila Patrace, sent me a beautiful birthday blessing. She spoke about God's timing, about His will, about the things I've worked for and prayed for, and breakthroughs. And being reminded that God gives according to His heart, according to His will, in His time. And she reminded me how grateful she is that we found our way back to one another as friends. Our friendship, our conversations, our ability to talk when things aren't going well and to laugh when things are lighter. She calls us hartmensies, heart people. And that means so much to me. Alicia sent me another beautiful blessing, and she spoke about God ordaining my steps, about restoration, about provision, about things that had been lost being multiplied. And she reminded me that I am loved, that I'm cared for, that God is my provider, my Prince of Peace, my waymaker. And then she said something that stayed with me. She thanked me for the joy I carry to her and to other people. And I thought, how interesting. Because this year I had wondered where my own birthday joy had gone. And there was somebody reminding me that perhaps joy isn't always something we feel. Sometimes it's something we carry. Then there were all the calls. Juffrou Margaretor in Joburg, Uncle Edward aan die fire, always chipper, La, whose phone calls sometimes routinely break the hour mark, and Auntie Sades, and Jen. Oh, Jana. Her call made my day. We spoke for ages. And every time I think about our friendship, I laugh because we almost weren't friends. I thought she was looking past me. I thought her mom wasn't laughing at my funny sayings, only to discover her mom was shy and Jen couldn't see. I'd completely misunderstood what I was seeing, and now she's my bestie. Sometimes the people we almost overlook becomes some of the most precious people in our lives. And of course, Michelle, my belle, she does her thing quietly. She doesn't need to make great announcements about how much she cares, but her heart is ginormous, and I'm so grateful for her. There were messages from family too. And somewhere between all those voices, I realized something. My birthday hadn't disappeared. It simply changed shape. And I started thinking about what wasn't there at, at the start of the day. No countdown, no usual excitement, no great anticipation. And yet, the day became filled with evidence of what was there. People who remembered, people who prayed, people who called, people who laughed with me, people who encouraged me, and people who reminded me that I mattered to them. And somewhere in all of that, I thought of Dad, about birthdays, of the things parents give us, not just presents, not just parties, but memories, values, stories, the sense of being loved. And I thought about how grateful I am that I had parents who nurtured me. Even though our birthdays were really elaborate, even though we weren't a family of great fanfare, there was love and there were moments, enough moments to carry me and to carry with me all these years later. And perhaps that's why Roots has become so important to me, because every episode asks me to look again at a place, at a photograph, at a person, at something I thought I already understood. And then I discover something else. Even recording these stories come at a cost, because every time I tell one, I have to decide how much of myself am I willing to give away? How much of the story belongs to me, and how much can come and become part of someone else's listening? But perhaps that is who I am. There are stories that have built me. The people, the places, the conversations, the mistakes, the laughter, the grief, the unexpected friendships, the moments of grace, the things I thought I understood and later discovered I had completely wrong. And perhaps that is what this birthday has given me. Not the excitement of countdown, but the opportunity to look back, to see the road, to see the people standing along it, to remember those who are no longer here, to recognize those who have remained, to notice people who came back into my life, to appreciate the people who quietly stayed, and to acknowledge I have come a long way. I'm in a season of stretching. There are things I don't have answers for, things I'm still waiting for, things I've worked for, things I've prayed for, things I've lost, and things I'm hoping will be restored. But today I choose gratitude. Not because everything is perfect, it isn't, but because there is still so much good, so much love, so many people, so many stories, so many reasons to keep going. So, in summary, I may not have had my usual birthday countdown, but I certainly had a birthday to remember. A beautiful one, a surprisingly beautiful one. It arrived quietly and then became very, very loud with love. And somewhere along the way, I stopped wondering where my birthday joy had gone, because I found it in the voices of other people, in the memories, in the laughter, in the praise, in the unexpected calls, in the people who reminded me who I am and whose I am. And perhaps most of all, in simply being here. Another year, another road, another collection of stories, and another opportunity to notice, to remember, to be grateful. This is Roots. And in summary, I'm grateful. Very, very grateful. And I haven't stopped smiling.